Back.
Okay, we'll just Chaitanya. Also cameraman, and we'll look at the camera and talk. Okay, I will turn it around. Okay, I think we're live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining Rangde's first Google Hangout. Um, and I'm pretty sure that we've been this being the first time, there might be a few issues, so please bear with us as we go live with this. I can see a lot of questions, but before that, I would like to quickly introduce some of my team members who are there with me today. I have Smita, who is the other co-founder of Rangde. I also have Chaitanya, who is the president of Rangde, and I'm hoping that one of my team members will be joining us shortly. She'll just log in remotely, so she should be in any moment now. We have a pretty, straightforward format for this hangout. We would look at giving quick key updates on what Rangde has been up to, and then we'll throw it open for Q&A. We also have quite a few questions which are already been posted, so we will take one after the other. And also the whole, the idea of having this hangout is to, to have that communication with all our social investors, our volunteers, with the Rangde team members directly. So this is going to be a monthly event. So we would have this on the first day of every month, starting from this month. So again, a big hello and welcome all to this hangout. I would like to request Smita to give a quick update on some of the key partnerships we've been looking at. Very interesting partnerships, more closer home where Rangde is based, which is Bangalore, and so I will let Smita take over and share a few key updates.
In the last month, actually, the impact team has been putting in a lot of effort on three key areas. One, with regard to transparency. Not sure how many people have actually seen that we have published our social accounts for the last financial year. This is an independently audited social accounts. Just like any organization would publish its financial accounts, we've actually made an attempt to look at what we've been doing in terms of impact, what each of our stakeholder thinks about how we have been delivering impact, and what are the areas where we need to improve. These accounts have also been independently audited and published on our website, and that's just one of the ways in which we would like to talk about the different functions that the impact role has been playing recently. And in addition to that, the impact team has also worked on two key areas. One is making sure that our social investors get access to their account statements every month with support from our technology team. And the other thing is in terms of the impact stories that our social investors receive, and these are more personalized stories now. So until now, a lot of work has actually happened on the field, but we have not been great at communicating to the social investors. So the impact team has actually taken up this responsibility to make sure that communication to the social investors becomes a key part of their role as well. The second area where we have done a significant amount of work is in terms of new partnerships and creating new interventions to create sustainable impact in the communities that we work with. Two key partnerships have come through, one with Rangsutra and the other one with Cheraka. Both actually mark a significant shift in our traditional way of providing microcredit to individuals who are members of groups. Both these are significantly larger size loans. They're working capital loans that have been given to groups that have access to markets but do not have access to working capital. With both these partnerships, I'm happy to say that the impact team has not just looked at how we can provide just-in-time finance, but they've also looked at how we can actually create sectoral expertise within the team, which is, I think, a big shift for us. And we would like to continue doing this, explore partnerships in new sectors such as dairy, livestock rearing, conservation, as well as waste segregation. So these are sectors where you would see a lot of new partnerships come up in the next couple of months. And the third area where the impact team has made a significant amount of progress is in the way we actually work with our partners. From being a very transactional sort of a partnership, we have actually moved on to looking at how we can co-create impact with our partners. And one of the things we are looking at is what do we do beyond credit to actually create impact. One of the things we've recently done is the Orissa Flood Relief campaign for our communities in Orissa, and that actually has given a significant, it's gained a significant traction amongst our social investors, and it has also helped us understand how do we take on more community-based projects in the near future. So those are some of the key updates from the impact team.
Yeah, I can see a lot of questions coming up, so please let them keep coming. We will take them up shortly. In terms of technology, and I'd like to just quickly ask Chaitanya to share a few updates because my colleague Swati could not join us because of some connectivity issues at her end.
Hi everyone. So on the technology side, we've been doing a lot of work on refurbishing our website. Some of you may have noticed the new impact pages. If you haven't, please do go there and let us know what you think. We have spent a lot of time in trying to improve the way we communicate impact to the social investors. What kind of stories we can get from the ground, positive, negative, everything that we see, and how can we report them to you, and how can we get you closer to the borrowers that you have been funding. We've also been working on a mobile app that we will talk about a little bit later. We're trying to exploit mobile technology in the way we work, and over the next several months, this might not all of this may be visible to social investors. Some of it will be, but we are looking at how we can use mobile to improve data collection from the field, how we can report evaluations more faster, more quicker, and get you in touch with the people who are actually on the field right now. For example, at this very moment, we've got two of our key members who are doing field audits. One is in Maharashtra, the other one is in another one is in West Bengal, and we'll be going to Odisha very shortly. We're looking to see how we can use mobile devices in capturing evaluations and getting them across to you much faster than before. So that's one of the areas that we are working on. And the roadmap for technology is actually quite interesting. And if there are people who are interested in contributing or being part of our journey, do let us know. We'll be very happy to leverage expertise to bring in some of the leading technologies of today's times into the way we do things. Not just for using technology, but actually trying to see how social impact can be multiplied using some of these technologies. Particularly of interest, as I said, mobile. We're looking at data analytics to see how we can use it, sitting on a lot of good data and so on. So the next 1 year, I think, should be a very, very interesting period for the technology team in Rangde.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya, for that update. Also, I just want to, I can see a lot of people joining us on this Hangout. So, there's a small surprise towards the end of this session. So please stay, tuned towards the end. After the Q&A session, we will have a special announcement to make. So please do, don't go anywhere. So please stay tuned to this Hangout. So let's get started, with the questions. So I can see a lot of questions coming up. So let me start by taking the question of Amit. So, well, his question is really about, how, what does it take to expand to new states, Chhattisgarh, northeastern states? Well, I think it's a great question, given the fact that in these states, there's not too much of microfinance or microcredit. Even financial inclusion is a bit of a challenge in these states. There's also tough geographies to actually work. So as much as we've tried, we've been to some extent we've been successful. We have a partner in Manipur. The organization is Seva. We are looking at new partnerships in the Northeast, especially, but they do take a while to come through, largely because of our ability to find new partners, and also finding that alignment with Rangde's mission. So I think these are the two things which really take a lot longer to actually fructify in terms of partnership in the northeastern state. And Chhattisgarh, again, it's a great question. We've put in efforts to find partnerships there. Again, it's just a challenge of finding a partner who could work with us. So I think I'm not sure if that answers the question, but yes, I think the real challenge is to find a partner who is willing to align or essentially who is willing to agree with our Rangde's mission and happy to implement our program. So the probability of finding partners essentially goes, it's a bit low. But then, having said that, we are committed as an organization. We're committed to working in these geographies because as an organization we have a very simple mission. Our focus is to reach out to underserved communities in underserved geographies. So clearly, that's very much part of our mandate. So Amit, thanks for asking the question. We're clearly very focused on expanding in these geographies.
I think there's also a second part to
Sure.
the question on how social investors can participate in this process. I think a lot of requests for partnership actually come through our website. There's a significant number of organizations that Rangde would like to work with, where we reach out to them directly. There are a lot of forums and networks that we are part of, through which we actually try to see who are the kind of partners that we can work with and where is that alignment. But as social investors, I think what would be really useful is if there is an organization in your neighborhood which you feel can benefit from a Rangde partnership, where you feel Rangde and the partnership have an alignment of mission and values. I think please feel free to refer them to us. We'll be very happy to take the next step for them. I think that's one way in which any social investor can play a very important role in terms of referring field partners.
So great. So let's move to the next question. This is by Ritika Ojha. Okay, so the question is largely about, at times when the approach is not correct, it fails to make the intended impact. What is the best way to approach people to explain more about Rangde and engage participation? Smita, you want to take that question?
I think there's no simple way to answer that question actually. So there are different ways in which our social investors have tried to introduce Rangde to different people. What has worked for some has not really worked for others. But the best thing that we have seen that works is really referrals and word of mouth. So as social investors, if you have experienced the Rangde model and believe in it, I think there are different tools we have on our website, different features that you can actually use to introduce a friend to Rangde. For example, the Rangde gift cards, they've been really used and adopted by a lot of people. It's a great gifting option because in an age and time where everybody seems to have an excess of everything, I think giving that Rangde gift card to during a friend's wedding or birthday, the gift definitely stands out. Plus, it's a gift of life to somebody. So I think that's one definite way of introducing a friend to Rangde. There's also a campaigns feature, so you can create a campaign if you're participating in a marathon or have your birthday. So today is Ram's birthday, for example, and he's actually created a campaign to get 40 new social investors to Rangde. So something that actually challenges people, tickles their senses, makes them think, makes them laugh. I think there's a combination of emotions that our social investors have actually used, and what we are trying to do at Rangde is to really provide that platform, create a basket of features that social investors can actually use to spread the word about Rangde. So what it requires is our social investors to become evangelists. So we always look out to them as extended team members who can actually talk about their experience. And I think there's no greater testimonial than hearing about it from our own social investors. So that's the most effective, I guess. You want to answer?
Yeah, I'm going to. I'm just going to interpret this question slightly differently, and let me see if let me know if that interpretation is valid. The question is verbatim. It says, at times when the approach is not correct, it fails to make the intended impact. And what's the best way to approach people to explain more about Rangde and engage participation? One way I'm looking at this, the first part of the question where Ritika talks about if the approach is not correct and the impact is not what is intended. The space in which we are working, the space in which Rangde has been operating for the past 6.5 years now, it's a very new field. Crowdfunding, peer-to-peer lending is an untested model. It was pioneered in India by Rangde. This whole model of working with partners across the country and taking a mission to the popular large numbers of people who don't have access to the kind of loans that people like you and I might get. This is something that is not not been tested before. And in many ways, what Rangde is doing is trying a lot of new things as well. And when we try new things, we're obviously going to have some successes and some failures and some lessons that we learn along the way. The most important thing that Rangde has been working very hard on is making sure that we are 100% transparent about everything that happens. And we feel that there is no bar on transparency, in the sense that we have to keep working on improving transparency. We have to keep working on getting the messages across to our social investors, to our partners, to our borrowers, and finding new and better ways of measuring impact and communicating that back to the people who are actually supporting this cause. So I think in some way, if we think that the approach is not working, we tend to try to make it work. And if it doesn't work, we tend to exit partnerships, because that's not going to benefit any of us. And in some sense, that is a reflection of what Ram talked about initially when he was saying that he was answering the question as to how do we deal with expanding to new states. And we have to be very, very careful about making sure that we find the right partnerships that are going to take your money to the people that you want to make an impact on. And we want to make sure that the partnerships that are with Rangde are partnerships that all of us are going to be extremely proud about, and extremely these are relationships that we will cherish for a very, very long time. And we want to make sure that the journey is going to be done with the utmost care, the due diligence and everything that goes into it. But at the same time, where we make mistakes, we will be honest in accepting that, and we'll be honest in reporting this back to you as well, and making sure that we include all those learnings into what we do next. So that's going to be a big part of it. As you all know, one of the most important parts of Rangde's website, and something that not many people know about this, is like this. The only reason you really need to log into our Rangde website is to make an investment. For everything else, you don't need to be a Rangde registered user. Everything is available to the people. And that's one way to make sure that all the information that we have is transparent, it's available without any restriction, and we will continue to push ourselves on that and make sure that we set new standards of transparency, impact measurement, monitoring, reporting, and everything like that.
I hope that answers the question, Ritika. And feel free to ask a follow-up question if you have to. Moving on to Amit's question on what are the biggest problems that Rangde faces in its work. So clearly, the one of the challenges we face is to see how we can meaningfully scale, because I think it's very important that we do not scale, for the sake of scaling. It's very important to have that fine balance between impact and scale. So and because it's sort of a distributed model where we work with a network of field partners, it becomes really important that we understand the strengths and weaknesses of our partners who are actually who are at the front lines. They are the real heroes in the Rangde model. So they are at the front line. They have access to the communities. They understand the needs of the communities a lot better than we do, and therefore it's important to have these partnerships and also strategically build these relationships. So one of the things we've been doing consciously over the last few quarters is to work very closely with our partners. So we've moved on to a model where we are now looking at co-creating impact for the communities we work with. And that's a very strategic step in the direction where we want to go, which is to essentially strengthen the relationships and scale impact with the partners based on those relationships which we have with them. So clearly that's one of the challenges. And second challenge is clearly access to capital, which is reaching out to more individuals, like-minded individuals who could join us in not just in contributing capital, but in also understanding the work, understanding the problem which we are trying to address, which is a complex problem, which is a multi-dimensional problem. There is no easy answer. Microcredit is not a magic bullet, but it's definitely a stepping stone towards our end goal, which is to help people come out of poverty. So that's clearly those are the two clear challenges. To how do we get the word out? How do we get more people join Rangde? Be it as volunteers, be it as chapter members, or and as well as social investors. I hope that answers the question. We'll move on to the next one by Alvin Lastrado. So just read the question quickly. Personally experienced some apathy when trying to offer voluntary services, evangelization. Yes, first response given an email connected to local chapter, but chapter did not really respond, and no follow-up was really done by Rangde rep. Is there really a plan? Let's answer this question.
Yeah, I think first of all, I would like to apologize for that negative experience that you had, Alvin. As much as we'd like to empower our local chapters, there's also significant effort that is needed from the Rangde team. And in the recent past, there's been quite a lot of changes in the team, which has resulted in this communication gap. It's no justification for what has happened. I think we really need to fix that bit. And with regard to local chapters, I would like to say that this is a group of dedicated volunteers who have come forward to support us beyond just investing money. And like it happens with any volunteering, at some point or the other, there needs to be a fresh, fresh energy into the volunteer group. And that's why we actually seek out new members to join and anchor the initiatives of the chapter. So really sorry about that. I think we need to fix our communication. We'll definitely work on it, and I take back this feedback as a Rangde team member, and we'll also make sure that we fix this process. So really sorry about that.
Okay, sorry I did not select this question, so sorry about that. But we'll move on to the next one. By Atin Garg. Let me just select this. So is there a process in place to start considering NRI investments from investors in UAE from their local bank accounts in UAE so that auto invest can be activated? etc. So I think that's a great question. I think, well, this never crossed our mind that we could actually set up an auto invest in the UAE. Well, we could do that even today because, well, in some sense, you could use your auto investment to on your UAE account to through your NRE account transfer the money into Rangde's account. But yes, I think we don't have this feature online, so that this allows you to track your auto investments. So this is something which we have been planning to introduce, but no, I think we will definitely introduce this soon. I don't have a timeline at this point in time, but it's definitely it's part of our roadmap. And when you do that, you will be able to set that up, and then track that as well online. But if you do want to do this even before we have that feature, feel free to write to us. We could set this up for you offline, and we would track this for you and then report back to you on a month-on-month basis. And we do this currently to quite a few investors in India who have set up a auto debit from their accounts, and we report back to them. And we also give them the option to actually choose where they would like to invest on a month-on-month basis. So do let us know. Do drop in an email if you want us to set this up for you. I've got looking at the next question now. This was submitted by Aishwarya Mishra, actually one of our volunteers based in Hyderabad, and also former chapter member, president of Hyderabad chapter. What are some of our key asks from government? Well, I think one of the things we really want is to see the crowdfunding, especially in the microcredit space, is a very nascent. It's in its nascency. So we'd love to see some clarity from the government, recognizing this, the model and the ability of this model to reach out to underserved communities across India. It clearly is a model which has a lot of promise. Rangde has been a pioneer in introducing this model in the country, and we've also been able to prove this model that it's sustainable. It can create impact. It can really help in reaching out to a large population of our country, which has never been offered credit. So that's clearly something. So the earlier we get some a sort of regulation or which would really help as a sector. We would also help other players, all the other stakeholders get a lot more clarity. So that's something which we would expect from the government. Support in terms of the framework, given the fact that even in the microfinance space, the government is yet to come out with a bill which would regulate the sector. So I think it would be good for the government to proactively come out with a framework for the crowdfunding model in the microcredit space as well. So let me just move on to the next question. So there's another question from Aishwarya Mishra. Top 3 myths that got busted in the years that you would with Rangde. Well, I don't know if Sweta wants to take that question or.
Yeah, I think first one that giving loans to the poor could be risky. I think we've not had any case, not even a single instance where our communities have refused to pay. If there have been delays, if there have been defaults, it's because of very genuine reasons, or there have been issues at the field partners. And so I'm very happy to say that this myth has got busted, and that has encouraged more social investors to participate. The second, that Indians are not philanthropic and online lending could take some time to gain traction. Yes, we've not yet reached a point where as many individuals as we expect have joined the platform, but we've seen a significant traction in the kind of capital that actually our social investors have been contributing. So definitely not true that Indians are not philanthropic. I think what we're looking for is a credible platform through which somebody can make a difference, and if there's anybody who can offer that, people will actually join. So I've seen that happen. The third, that there's not enough talent that is willing to, there's not enough human resource who wants to actually join the non-profit sector. And in Ragde's case, I think that myth has got busted, because we've had a fantastic set of team members who have joined us, contributed, moved on, and the next set of team members have come and joined us. I think three very important myths. Lots more. Lot more myths have got busted, and I think every day is a learning experience, but these are the top three myths that come to my mind. Do you have anything?
I think they are very spot on, absolutely. Particularly the last one that
Okay, fine. So I think if you have any other follow-on question, Ashwarya, I hope you're listening to this. Feel free to ask. We'll go to the next one by Ranadhir Velamuri. What goals or targets for next 6 months? Just want to get a sense of traction expected. Just want to get excited hearing that. Okay, so Ranadhir, I think what we're really looking for the next 6 months is, well, for this financial year, really is to grow our portfolio by about 50% more from what we did last year. So we're looking at closing this financial year by looking at fresh disbursals of 15 crores. So that's a short-term plan, but that's the plan for the next 6 months. But the following year, we want to go, really, double that number. So we're looking at 30 crores for the following financial year. So that's the plan for the upcoming 6 months. So it's very clear that we also want to, while we achieve these numbers, we also want to reach out to communities who have been either denied credit or who have never been, who have been offered credit for a particular need, but didn't, not offer credit for something else. A classic case is, quite a few of our borrowers who get business loans, or get bank linkages, but then they don't get enough credit to run their business, or they don't get timely help for, paying for their children's education. So these are some of the, clearly the communities are, underserved. So, the challenge is also to identify such communities as we scale up. So as we scale up, we also look at, offering credit to communities like communities who have not been served credit or who have been underserved.
If I can add,
yeah, sure.
If I can add a few things. We're also doing something very interesting, and Smita would have a lot more detail than that. So we've worked on individual micro loans for a very long time, 6.5 years. But last few months, some of you would have noticed a new set of borrowers have come online, micro ventures particularly. So we've got Charaka there, we've got Swamkala there. We're looking at partnering with organizations who are doing some really wonderful work in terms of, for example, bringing skills in the dairy sector, in the livestock sector, and joining hands with people who bring expertise, and we are adding microcredit to that and seeing what kind of impact that can make. Apart from just pure micro loans, working with some very interesting organizations that are in the environment space, in the urban environment space, working with organizations that are working with some of the most marginalized people like cycle rickshaw pullers and so on. So you will be able to offer a much wider range of social investment opportunities to our investors. So the numbers that Ram talked about will actually mean a lot more opportunity for us to reach out to not just people with individual loans or with people who have who are getting business loans but not for other reasons, but also look at a range of other opportunities which are suffering because they don't have access to credit, or just the whole process of getting a bank loan or whatever is so painfully difficult that it essentially rules out most people even trying to get it. So we're trying to be innovative in multiple different fields as well. So impact not just in numbers, but in the sectors that we want to expand into, in new kind of partnerships that we want to try and work and so on. So next 6 months to a year, 2 years, I think we're going to see a lot of interesting action on that side as well.
Thanks, Chaitanya. So let's look at the next question by Atin Garg. How successful has CSR incorporation of Rangdev been so far in India? I guess the Rangdev groups, which are clusters of employees in each company, have been helping so far. But can the company be expected to invest as an entity itself, if not individuals? I'll take a first stab at this. Clearly, I think the CSR mandate now with the change in the Companies Act is a huge, I think, not just for Rangde, but for the entire sector in general. And clearly, we have, started engaging with quite a few corporates. Quite a few corporates have written to us. They are engaging with us. But clearly, given our focus on microcredit or providing credit to underserved communities, the clear opportunity there is to see if we can have a partnership with a corporate where there's an alignment. But having said that, there's a lot of interesting conversations in the pipeline. And if you do know of a company or the company where you currently work, do connect us. We'll be very happy to interact with them, engage with them, and see if there are any opportunities which we could pursue together. Whether you want to add something to that? Okay, so yeah, so I hope that answers the question. Let me quickly take the next question by Tirumala Vedavati. What are the two future projects of Rangde? Is there a chance of expanding Rangde services to whole of India? Yes, I think clearly we are looking at scaling up, as I said earlier. But the clear goal is to scale meaningfully. We're looking at partnerships pan-India. We're looking at organizations who are known for their amazing work, have a fantastic track record. So a lot more announcements, in the coming weeks, if not days, you will hear from us. But yes, I think the challenge continues to remain in terms of finding these organizations, finding these individuals who lead these organizations. So feel free to introduce us. You can always reach out to us, even if you feel that it's too early in the day to introduce. Please to introduce. We would go ahead and talk to them and take it forward. I got the next question from. Okay, so we have a question from Kamlesh Shankar. He's actually a volunteer, also advisor to Rangde. Is there a way for Rangde to capitalize on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Bank Account for All campaign? No, absolutely. I think I was, just the other day I was in Orissa. I had a brief visit to one of our partners there in Sambalpur. The Prime Minister's the scheme Jan Dhan, the program is fantastic. They were able to open up a lot of bank accounts, a record number of bank accounts in a single day, which I think it's great in terms of the mindset change of the branch managers of the local banks. I think that's a great first step forward. It would allow our partners, our field partners, we call them impact partners now, our impact partners to really, make it cashless at the field level. So they would not have to give them money unless it's absolutely required, where the branches are, located at a distance. They could actually transfer the money into their bank accounts. So that would help them build a credit history. That would help them build, a reputation with the bank. and they could leverage that relationship, that reputation to avail other services. So clearly that's a great step forward, and we're excited about it as much as anybody else. So let me just quickly take. I know we are completely out of time, but I'll make sure that we'll make sure that we answer all the questions. This is a question by Anuradha Goyal, a very active Rangde social investor. So what is the biggest ROI of Rangde so far beyond numbers between investors and investees? Who have been the bigger gainer at a philosophical level? Well, I think knowing Anuradha, I think it's a very philosophical question. Well, I think if let me take a first stab at it. I would say that the clearly the investees have been a bigger gainer, because when we started Rangde, it was very difficult for us to find acceptance to this whole thinking, or the whole philosophy that we should lower the cost of interest rate, and because there was a widely held belief that the poor in India, they don't really care about the interest rates. What they really care about is access to credit. And we were the only ones, talking about lowering the cost of credit so that it becomes more affordable, so that communities who have otherwise been left out would now get credit access. So clearly, I think they have been a big gainer. A case in point, which is very starkly sort of illustrates this, is our partner in Mysore. The partner's name is SVYM, Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement. So they took some time to partner with us, because they said they would like to work with the communities, prepare them for a partnership with Rangde. So after about 2 years of talking to them, they got back to us, and what they did by then was something very remarkable. So they got the street vendors in Mysore, outside the city government hospital, they formed them into self-help groups, connected them with a bank, opened their bank accounts. There was a lot of resistance from the bank saying that, oh, we can't open a bank account for a street vendor. But they persisted, and they ensured that the bank accounts were open. They got them to monthly meetings. They got them to record keeping, and got them to save small amounts of money in those bank accounts. And eventually, they connected Rangde with them. So traditionally, they were used to paying 10% flat rate of interest every day. So they used to borrow in the morning and repay the loan in the evening. And now, with Rangde's intervention, and thanks to our field partner, we have now been able to offer them credit at about 8.5% flat per annum. So that's a huge saving. Any which ways you look at it, it's a huge saving financially, and also helps them build their self-confidence. So that's something, that's a case in point. Anybody, Smita, you want to talk about from a social investors, perhaps, point of view?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things from the social investors' point of view has been the ability of this platform to extend their reach to places and people that they would otherwise have never been able to do in any other way, number one. And second thing is an ability to connect with them in different ways. And this is something that we have been working on. We've had some good response on the impact page redesign, and I think we'll continue to work on that. A lot of our people, a lot of our social investors, when we speak to them, talk about that they want to engage beyond just giving money. And I think that giving people that opportunity to do that. Recently, we had one of our social investors who was visiting his hometown in Odisha and actually went on a field trip all by himself. We prepared him with whatever he needs to have to meet with borrowers. Came back extremely pleased with that entire experience of meeting with people who are amongst the poorest in this country, who live on very little, and yet have some tremendous self-respect, dignity, and the kind of the love and response that they give to us when we meet them is something that is cherished by us forever. And these opportunities of being able to interact with social investors, with borrowers, is something that is actually quite life changing for a lot of our people. So we always look forward to field visits, and we always look forward to some of our social investors also joining us there, because each field visit is a life changing experience, whether it's for a Rangde team member or somebody who's part of our social investor network.
Okay, thanks, Chaitanya. I'll take another question coming up from Ranadev Velamuri. So I'll just read out the question quickly. So how is it that we are differentiating Rangde from someone like Milap? Are they ahead of the curve, or everyone have a place here in India? I think it's very important to understand, the context in which everyone operates. We know the folks at Milap, great guys, but I think it's very important to sort of see what is the purpose of having a crowdfunding platform. For Rangde, I think it's been very clear from day one. So we have, consciously made an effort to reach out to the underserved and offer them at a credit at a rate which is, unheard of, and which had been unheard of until Rangde came in. So our focus has been constantly to ensure that we do that so that we can reach out to underserved communities with the help of our impact partners. Also, I think it's important to understand that Rangde as an organization, as a legal entity, we're a non-profit. We're a true blue non-profit. We have a trust. We also now have a Section 25 company with the purpose of having better governance and also raising more growth capital. But our DNA is non-profit. And what it really does to the work which we do is it ensures that there is alignment with the social, the impact which we all set out to achieve. And there's no, real pressure for us to, return high financial returns to investors. So I think that's very important, because as we saw in the microfinance space, for-profit social enterprises are great in theory, but then when it comes to actual execution, they're inevitable. It's inevitable, but what happens is there's a drift in the mission, and that's something which was responsible for the huge crisis in the sector. So I think fundamentally, the key difference clearly is that we are a non-profit. We are true blue non-profits. Our focus is on on very low interest rates, and their interest rates are clearly quite high. They're as high as the microfinance interest rates. So and they're clearly a for-profit. So I think I would say that the only time would tell whether who is ahead of the curve. But I think the key thing really is to ensure that we are able to make that impact. We don't compromise on that impact. So for us, impact comes first. So I hope, Ranade, that answers your question. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next one. How do you reach out to acquire new social investors, Annamalai? So again, Annamalai, I think there is no specific, well, at this point in time, we have multiple strategies to do that. Clearly, we have, conversations with the social investors. We do meet up with them quite often. We engage them in several ways. But beyond that, we also use social media quite effectively. But we're still learning how to get better at that. But yes, we leverage social media as well. We also have some amazing brand ambassadors. Bhaidar Rahman ji, Nagesh Kukunur, and Raghu Dikshit. So they have been amazing in many ways, because they have lent their name, they've lent their support to run this cause. So that also adds a lot of credibility, and also it helps us to acquire new social investors. So I've got a question from Namrata Shankar. I understand there are, sorry, let me just quickly select this question. I understand there have been a few negative experiences in terms of field partners being fraudulent. What does Rangdi do in such cases to instill confidence? Back-end investors, apologize if you already touched on this topic, join a little. That's fine, Namrata. So what we've really done as an organization, yes, I think there have been some instances where, well, I would not say fraudulent partners, but I would say that more of mismanagement at the field level. There have been attrition of critical staff at the field level. But I think in all of it, I think one thing which really stands out and which gives us a lot of reason to do what we do at Rangde is not even one default has happened so far because of a borrower choosing not to repay the loan. So that is a very big testimony in itself that the microcredit model which Mohammed Yunus pioneered in Bangladesh is rock solid. It works all the time. It's just a question of how do we actually execute that model. So this clearly Rangde we've learned a lot of lessons given our own the model being itself a new model, and we've learned a lot of lessons on the ground. And we've taken a lot of steps now to ensure that we don't make those mistakes. So, for instance, we have a Six Sigma framework which we're rolling it out within Rangde. There's a lot of focus on process. So not just limited at Rangde's level, but it's also getting rolled out at our field partner, at our impact partners level as well. So we're conducting immersion programs for our partners. These are deep dive sessions on the importance of process, on the importance of reporting data in a timely fashion. So I think these are some of the things which we've been doing, and we've started seeing a lot of results already. So that's something which we would do. And Namrata, I do understand that these are some of the things which there are certain things which are beyond our control, but whatever is within our control, we have set up processes and systems to ensure that it doesn't happen under our watch. So let's take another quick question. I think this by Nimesh, not a question but a compliment, that impact page design is brilliant and stories are very inspirational. So that's good to hear, Nimesh. Thank you very much. And do let us know if you want us to make any changes to this page. This is definitely the first cut. We do have plans to share a lot more data on the impact page. So which is your most successful marketing channel by Prabhu Shekaran? Well, as I said earlier, it's a mix of multiple channels. We don't really market ourselves as much as we should. It's largely by word of mouth. It's largely through engagement, field trips, as Chaitanya was talking about a short while ago, and really it's all about educating people, sharing the cause behind Rangde. So that's, I think, very critical. So and we also use a lot of social media. So it's a mix of everything. But yes, I think we still not reached a point where we could say that this is the channel which is really driving social investors to Rangde. Oh, sorry, I didn't get a question. So what's common among 20% of your investors who make roughly more than 80% of your investments? Question submitted by Prabhu again. Well, let me just quickly select this question. Well, I think that's a great question, because in many ways it brings people together who have in some sense a similar mindset for the country, and also they believe in bringing about a sustainable change, something which is more long lasting. And also they believe in transparency. So So these are some of the things which I guess brings people together onto the Run This platform. And the more we have engagements with them, we do a lot of events, and we have noticed that there's absolutely no doubt in their minds that they want to see that change by becoming a part of Runway. So,
I think it's just building on top of what Ram said. I would say some of our most ardent supporters and most active social investors are also the most demanding from Runway. They're also very supportive, but at the same time, they make sure that we are always one step ahead in terms of reporting, in terms of making sure that our numbers are right, our accountabilities is always never under question. We get a lot of suggestions, small, big, timely, that have helped us a lot in terms of how we can improve communication, how we can implement new ideas, and so on and so forth. So you're right in terms of the fact that 20% of our investors do have a large impact on how we work and what we do. Many of them know us by name and are frequently in touch with us on multiple forums and so on. It's not that the rest of the 80% are not active or something, but yes, I mean, few people have given us more than just their time and money. They've really cared about this mission. They sometimes, when you listen to them, or when you kind of look at their emails and the kind of communication they share with us, it gives us a huge amount of moral, what can you say, moral support that we can, that there are people who are willing to stand with us, help us with trying new things, give us a space to experiment, try, learn from those mistakes, and yet be very watchful of what we're doing, and give us all the time and attention that we need to succeed in our mission. So absolutely, we're extremely grateful and obliged to all of those people who are doing that. Many of our people have made sure that they've brought in new social investors, introduced them to social investing, and expanded the circle of social investors as well. So we are extremely obliged to our social investors for actually letting us get this far and staying behind us as we go forward as well.
Okay, thanks, Chaitanya. I think, guess we are on the last question. Sorry for extending this hangout. Does Runway itself face a lot of attrition? I see a lot of churn of the team updated on the website. How does Runway address this? Well, the answer is yes and no, because we've had a lot of people who feel that getting into the social space is easier, and it looks that's something which they would be able to manage. And sadly, some of them really realize that that's something which after they actually get into the space, they realize that well, they probably are better off working in the corporate sector. So I think some of those they keep happening on and off. But if you look at some of our core team members, I think we've been around for a while. So always, I think I and Smita, and some of my other colleagues, they've been around for a really long time. So I think there is definitely, something which I think we should all, take note of. But having said that, clearly we're looking at people joining us. We're also looking at new ways of actually engaging people. So I also take this opportunity to actually appeal to a lot of people who are tuning into this hangout to see if they would like to take a sabbatical. It's not really a career shift. So if you want to take a sabbatical, it could be Runway, it could be a non-profit which you support. I would say that by all means go ahead and take that sabbatical. It could be for a year, it could be for a couple of years, but I think that's something which would really be a great opportunity for you to understand the sector, understand the problem a lot better in close quarters, and also it would add a phenomenal value to the organization because they would benefit a lot from your professional expertise as well.
I'd like to add to that actually. So I think what we face as an organization is not just unique to Ramde. I'm sure a lot of organizations face the same challenges. But it's more obvious in our case because it's a small team. Our team members' profiles are updated on the page, so you get to see how frequently who's not around anymore. So I think that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is what does it take to actually be a Ramde team member? So apart from really feeling for the cause, having that connect, it also requires a little bit of madness to be here and to enjoy everything that you do here. And there are times when it probably gets too much and people decide to move on. And like Ram always says, like to put it this way, that it's more like a marathon relay. So there's it's not, you can't sprint it, so you really have to be there long enough to actually make sure that you achieve that mission. So unless you can actually do that, it's you're bound to see attrition. You're happy to accept that as long as there's a solid team that's actually focusing on the roadmap and not really compromising on the mission. So that's how we address it.
Okay, so I think that was the last question, and I can see a small note from Annamalai wishing me happy birthday. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So on that note, and as I promised, a special announcement. So I'm really excited and very happy to share that we have Rangde's mobile app now ready. It's available for download. It's available on the Google Play Store. So please go ahead and search for Rangde. Rang space day or rangde.org, you would get access to the application. So do try it out. We've put in a lot of effort, a lot of volunteer effort has also gone into this. A big thank you to all of you out there who have helped us in launching this app. And do let us know if you find any issues in using this app. Please do bear in mind that this is the first version of the mobile app. A lot more would be coming up soon, so stay tuned for more updates. And as I said, we would meet every month. So the next Hangout, Google Hangout, would happen on the 1st of October, the same time, 8:30 p.m. So look forward to talking to all of you next time around. Thank you again for joining us on this Hangout. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.